The blizzard continued to howl around the farmhouse, a white shroud that masked both the hunter and the hunted. Inside the stable, Ella gripped the pistol Elias had given her, her knuckles white, while Beth huddled against the horse, shivering but silent. They waited for the signal, the gunfire Elias had promised. Outside, Elias appeared on the porch with a calculated calmness that belied the danger. He set his rifle down next to a rocking chair, which he had carefully positioned to be in the perfect line of sight for the militia hiding in the tree line. For a few agonizing minutes, he simply sat there, a ghost in the swirling snow. It was a test of nerves. When the shots didn't come, Elias realized the militia were either repositioning or under strict orders from Sawyer not to shoot until they were certain of his capture. He stood up, left his rifle on the porch, and walked back into the house. This was the opening the militia had waited for. Emboldened by what they perceived as a lapse in his defenses, the men moved toward the house. The weight of their footsteps cracked through the weathered wood of the porch as they deployed, splitting up to clear the interior, one to the left, one to the right, while two remained to guard the perimeter and the stable. Inside the house was a hollow shell. The two militiamen moved from room to room, securing the space, but Elias was nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, the man assigned to the stable approached the structure where the girls were hiding. He never made it to the door. An arrow pierced through his eye socket and exited his skull, killing him instantly and silently. Elias stepped out holding his compound bow and glared at the man with instant hatred. The man who was threatening his friends wouldn't threaten them or anyone else again. At the front of the house, the second perimeter guard walked up to the porch and picked up the rifle Elias had abandoned. He pulled the bolt back and realized the weapon wasn't even loaded. The realization that they were being set up hit him a second too late. Before he could shout a warning to the men inside, Elias materialized behind him. With the cold efficiency of a shadow, Elias slashed his throat, slicing the jugular and puncturing his windpipe to ensure no cry for help could be uttered. Elias did not re-enter the house to find the remaining two. Instead, he remained patient and vigilant in the snow, waiting for the house to be confirmed empty. When the final two militiamen returned to the porch, they found their comrade dead and a set of tracks leading toward a large pile of snow a few yards away. Before they could even raise their weapons, two silent shots rang out from inside that snowbank. Elias, buried beneath the snow and armed with a suppressed sniper rifle he had scavenged from one of the earlier kills, executed both men with sniper-like precision. Elias rose from his snowy grave like a vengeful spirit. He walked toward the dying men, grabbing one by the collar to force him to look into his eyes. "If you live long enough to see your boss, I want you to deliver a message," Elias said, his voice a low, terrifying rasp. "Tell him he made a mistake and the men I killed today won't be the last." He disarmed the fallen and left them on the porch, turning his back on the carnage to return to the stable. "Are you okay?" Beth asked, her voice small and trembling as he entered. "I am now," Elias replied. He took the reins of the horse and covered his face and instructed the girls to do the same as he led them out into the whiteout, heading west. Hours later, the silence at the farmhouse was broken by the crackle of a radio. Sawyer, growing increasingly frustrated that Elias had not been brought in, dispatched 4 more men to investigate. When they arrived, the bloody scene on the porch told the story. "I want him found," Sawyer barked over the radio, his tone aggravated and frustrated. "There are tracks heading west," one of the men reported. "Looks like he's on foot with a horse." "That means he's not alone," Sawyer hissed. "Follow the tracks, and I don't want to see your faces unless he is standing with you. Is that clear?" By the time the second unit began their pursuit, Elias and the girls had reached the skeletal remains of a settlement once known as Wapiti. They sought refuge in an old barn, the heavy doors groaning as Elias led them inside. Inside the barn, the girls climbed down from the horse. Elias led his animal to a stall, ensuring it had fresh oats and water, spending a few quiet moments showing his friend some affection as he prepared for a difficult goodbye. While Ella and Beth attempted to start a fire in an old blacksmith forge to warm their bodies, Elias moved to the back of the barn. He pulled several tarps off an old pickup truck equipped with a camper shell. Ella walked over, watching as he popped the hood. "Do you think you can get this old thing running?" she asked, skeptical. Elias looked at her with a sarcastic smile. "Go ahead and load up. We'll get going in a few minutes." Ella soon realized Elias's foresight. The truck's original internal combustion engine had been replaced with an engine that was battery-powered. Something out of science fiction, Elias managed to use his expertise and training from his days in the military and adapted the truck so it could not only run for long stretches, but run silently. Elias connected 2 large car batteries to the system, and when he climbed into the cab and turned the key, a silent hum filled the barn. He then grabbed 4 more batteries and stored them in the back of the truck. Before they left, Elias returned to the stall. He draped a blanket over his horse and gave the animal one final kiss. He was visibly upset at the prospect of leaving his companion behind, knowing he had to leave the barn door open and the fire going so the horse could stay warm for as long as possible, eventually finding its own way in the frozen landscape. Beth, seeing his grief, stepped forward and placed her hand on his shoulder. "Maybe you'll see him again one day," she whispered, her empathy cutting through his stoic defenses. "Yeah, maybe you're right," Elias said, absorbing the hope the girl offered. He climbed into the driver's seat, his eyes fixed on the directional finder mounted on the dashboard. "So where are we going?" Ella asked as the truck began its silent journey out into the snow. Elias didn't look back at the farmhouse or the life he was leaving behind. He simply said, "North."